Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Dexbuild Podcast. I'm Matt. This is Andy. I don't know which way to point. This way?
Nope.
No, this way. This way? That's Andy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the idea of these is as of now, we do them like every month and we just recap kind of the games we're playing. Always kind of look at one big one and then a couple smaller ones. Last month, we talked quite a bit about Night Rain, the new Elden Ring game, as well as some of the other stuff we were playing. We talked about Avowed, Ender Magnolia, which will come back up again today. For this month, Andy and I, if you haven't seen it yet on the channel, played Split Fiction, which is the latest two-player co-op story game from Haze the Light Studios. So I think first of all, we should talk a little bit about like our background with that studio. So you and I played together A Way Out, which is the Prison Break game. Is that the only Haze Light game you've played, or have you played Brothers or what was the other one? It Takes Two.
I honestly don't know that I've ever heard of Brothers, but I did not get around to It Takes Two.
Yeah. So I am similar. I mean, I'm aware of Brothers, but I think that one it was two-player, or you could actually play with both characters as individual joysticks. It wasn't like obviously as intensive as like Split Fiction, obviously, but that was part of the appeal too. You could control each character to solve your puzzles, more movement based. A Way Out was next. We liked that game. I don't know if we've ever given it like a numerical score, but it's probably in the 7-8 range for me. I don't know about how it was for you.
That's the one I did play? Oh gosh. I mean, that was the first instance of like a online couch co-op, so I would have given it a 10 just for functionality there. The game itself, I don't remember. I think I fought you in one part, right?
At the end, you're fighting for sure. We definitely liked playing Connect 4. I remember we did that in like a hospital while we were like running.
Yep.
You're only in jail for like the first half of the game. I remember you like crawl out vents, you're stealing wrenches. Like the true Prison Break stuff is only like a little bit. Then you're out like hiding from police, doing kind of stealthy stuff.
Much like the show Prison Break.
Yeah. And then the end, you're fighting and it becomes like GTA. I remember you shoot someone in his office and you're fighting people at a pool and there's like getaway cars, and at the end we had the debate of who was going to kill who and whatever. It Takes Two, I played with my wife half of it, maybe. It was fun. It's hard. It similar to, I think this is where it gets closer. That one's much closer to Split Fiction, right? Like it's a tough game, I think, to play with somebody who's like not great at games, because you actually have to like coordinate and be, it's not like, something where like the second controller or second person doesn't matter. Like you're coordinating stuff, similar to how it was in Split Fiction. So somebody who's like not used to games for real, like platformers or puzzle games, it was a little tough to do. So we just kind of fell off it. And then comes Split Fiction. We haven't just straight up talked about it. Like I think in the credits we said, yeah, I liked it. But I kind of want to hear your thoughts first. Like where did you land on that as a game? Giving it a score, what you did and didn't like. Like where'd you land on Split Fiction?
Well, similar to whatever we just said, Prison Break or A Way Out or whatever it was called. I would score on the over because of the type of game it is, and just because you don't get that, and because I don't have a couch co-op situation in my house. I would probably give it bonus points there, but then take points away for the story itself. In part because it's only somewhat present. Like we talked about this at the end of the last episode. Whatever that commentary was back and forth between Mio and
Zoe.
You're
Zoe. You can never remember Zoe's name.
No. I mean, no idea what they ever said to each other, because again, like in the idea of a game like this where you're playing it together and you're obviously going to be talking back and forth, you're probably not going to just stop for every cutscene. So generally, I mean, I got it. Raider or whatever his name was the bad guy. Get it? It's his company, evil. He's taking our stuff, stealing it, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we should say, I mean, that's not a surprise from the beginning, but this will be spoilerific. Don't watch it if you haven't played the game.
From you, maybe. I don't know that I'll remember enough to spoil anybody.
There's not really a ton to spoil. Like if you can't feel that Raider is going to be bad at the beginning.
Yeah, it's pretty early on. Yeah. if I just, are you wanting to go into like different specific parts? Like that final boss fight was something else. There
Yeah,
were
I think.
different dynamics that were kind of unique. Or you
Yeah,
want
I think I kind of wanted your overall, and then I thought it'd be fun to just break out some of our favorite segments anyway. So,
maybe if I
um,
had to give it a number, I wanted I want to give it like an 8, but also an 8 seems too high. But
mhm.
also it'll be the best of what it is.
I think an
So,
8 with the context of because of the kind of game it is fair to say.
yeah.
Um, I'm similar. I liked it a lot. I think it's their best game. I'll say that much. I think like because A Way Out's writing wasn't that great, neither was It Takes Two. Like the writing is not their strong suit, and I don't know if it's because I don't know if they're French or Italian or what. Like I don't know if there's a translation issue, like in localizing the game, or if, but I don't think so because it's not like I mean, some of it is that the lines themselves specifically were corny, but a lot of it is like the overarching plot. Like we talked before, like I have no idea why they needed to make it like people who write books rather than people who write video games because it would be a lot more conventional to have you be in a game as a game maker. But like we talked about, half the time if you had to describe what was happening in that game as a book, it'd be the worst book ever written. It'd be like, then I jumped on, held on to the dragon while it flapped and took me through 11 rings. You know, like what is that? It's a game. And that's like a small change. Also, like it just felt kind of young adulty. You and I talked about like for a while, I felt like Mia was the main character, and at the very final mission, suddenly they started caring about like Zoe's in her story. There was no pacing to that. It
Which
was
was
kind of weird.
so unnecessarily dark.
Yeah, it was just random, and it didn't feel like her at all. So like, okay, is the point she's like suppressing her thoughts or and needs a therapist? I don't know. But at the end of the day, the reality is like it doesn't really matter. Like
Right.
it was a vessel for which you could genre jump constantly. I just think they could have come up with something smarter to that to be the connective tissue. There's probably like 30 total minutes of cutscene in that 12 to 13 hour game, so it wasn't a huge deal. Um, but I think I would give it something between a 7 and an 8, maybe closer to an 8, because I do feel like a couple parts dragged a little, but for the most part, I feel like you and I kept saying like as soon as we got tired of something, the game I think sensed it and switched, and we were into something new. So like whether we liked a segment or not, even if you liked it, it got stale, or if you didn't like it, it was gone before it mattered. That definitely makes a difference, and so you were moving around a lot. It will make this next part challenging for us, though. I can't imagine as we talk about our favorite segments. I remember some, but I'm sure we'll leave some out that we liked because there's just so many.
Yeah.
Um,
And it'll be tough too. Like obviously whenever you talk about yours, you are predominantly looking at your side of the screen.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's another interesting thing. So let's take that as our next part. So two things. I asked you this while we played. One, I want to know your favorite segments, but the other thing I think you and I talked about was like, who do you think got to do more cool things? You know what I mean? Like, because each character had a different mechanic. Do you ever feel like you're like, Matt got to do like the thing I think seemed more fun, more, or vice versa?
I think whenever we had like our shape shifting stuff or our dragons, things like that, I feel like, I mean, they were fine. I didn't dislike them, but like there was one where I don't know if it was my dragon or something else, like he would roll where yours
Yep.
would do something else. And then there was
Shoot.
another one where I think, yeah, it would shoot. I think maybe there's another where my dragon might do like a flip or something.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, generally speaking, I might say that what you had was a little more appealing, but that's probably just the grass is greener situation. Like I still had fun doing it, and because of how the game works, you're not really left to dwell on your capabilities versus or your abilities versus your partners. Like
Yeah. I
there wasn't time to say like, well, shit, I sure would have liked to have done that.
What were you when I was the swimming otter?
Was that toward the end?
No, that was the beginning, like first third. I
I
remember I
I
could
was like
swim water.
I was like a little fairy. I had a
That's
fairy
right.
and a tree. I don't know if those were overlapping or not.
When I could also be a monkey. That's right.
Yeah.
So I feel like I do feel like maybe Mio's stuff is like 5% cooler, but I do also think like you asked me at one point like would I want to replay it to try the others, and I think that's like a yes, not obviously on stream or anything, but if I were going to play with Janet or something, I would obviously let her be Mio. That way I could be something new. I think there'd be appeal there. Obviously, you solve the puzzles, you know what you're doing at that point, but just to do the mechanics. I think for the most part, though, the way it alternated definitely felt like. So if in Dragon World I had the cooler thing, it felt like in the next world you'd have the cooler thing for the most part, though.
The pig, you had the much cooler thing. Me with that spring underneath of me or above me, wherever the spring was, I didn't care for that one. And you were farting around
What's
all
funny
over
is
the place.
I listened to a podcast where they said that the fart was the stupid one, you know, and I'm like, well, I
Really?
mean, it's funny though because I was farting. So that's a good segue though. Okay, so pigs definitely we've talked about it a lot as a highlight for both of us. So besides that, what are some of the other segments that stand out to you, whether they're side stories or main segments that you liked?
Doing the little metallic ball thing was fun because I always
Yeah.
like those games where you have to like quickly shift your balance or else you'll like you'll roll against the direction you're shifting. I like
Yep.
that. We struggled a little bit for that part where we were running on opposite sides of the invisible wall, I guess, and having to toss the dynamite back or the
Oh, the
bomb back and
bomb.
forth. Yeah, like we struggled, but
Yeah, the
that was
bomb
fun.
toss was interesting. That was fun.
The dancing with the monkey was a good time.
That was great. I liked that. I liked a lot of the ones, maybe it's a recency thing, but like toward the end I liked like I had fun with another extension of the metallic ball, but like when I could become the boat and carry you around, or like
Mm.
the parachute, you know, and like you're sticking to stuff and rolling around, like all of that.
That
I
one,
also enjoyed
whatever yours was when you were the boat,
uh
was that when mine was like the green arm that would.
yep.
That was weird to be controlling that thing.
Oh, I bet. Well, and then remember then later I had to become like the extendable arm that you could like walk out on and go across stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
um I also thought same level I think, but when my character could like reveal lasers and you had to like Mission Impossible like around and through lasers was a cool segment. Just the end was awesome. Then obviously the final segment was really cool when the worlds start colliding and you got the line that would like pivot around us at all times and then finally broke away. And I mean, just thinking about I know very little about development, let alone game development, but I cannot imagine what went into making sure that
Like that could
everything
be
worked and made sense around that.
concurrent like that and just like a smooth transition of it like going this way and it's yeah, it's like you've got your two frames are still running their independent content, but then your frame bounds are constantly, and that's not even
I
it either because then the character is jumping across.
crossing. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, same
And
like
then eventually
however
it
they
would
do
be in
that.
each other's. Yeah, it was just cool. The boss was cool. It was also a cool way to like recall everything you had done. Um Side story stuff, loved the pig mission. I mean, that came out of nowhere. Like that was the first time I feel like the game charmed us, you know. Um and then obviously finishing with like, oh, we jumped in the meat grinder, what a funny ending, and then we were the hot dogs and you had to dress yourself and grill your like that was just the tone of the game. I actually wish there had been more of that, just like random weird stuff, you know, because that was a side story while we were in sci-fi world, and we kept trying to figure out like are the side missions always tied to the other genre, and they mostly were, but the reality is like pigs hot dogs isn't fully fantasy, and so I do
It's
wish they'd
definitely
just
not
kind of gone,
steampunk.
yeah, I wish they'd gone like off the wall at some point with some other side stories, but I loved all the like SSX, like the snowboarding, the water
Hmm.
skiing. Like they just had a lot of nice, fun segments in that.
I'd like
What
to
was the other
see
one?
some kind of like official statement on exactly what the reasons were or how did they select the different like game cameos, like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
nods. Is it just like the developer's favorite or the writer's favorite games? They're just throwing nods out to, or like how did they choose what made its way in there? Like we had some Harry Potter stuff. You had the
Dark Souls,
yeah,
obviously.
right, the Praise the Sun deal. And it seemed
There's
like
also a very clear Assassin's Creed. Do you remember when you first go to the sci-fi town and you do like the swan dive like up
mhm.
into the hay? Um, There was also, you could argue, I know you didn't play it, but Mario Odyssey had the spring mechanic that the pig had. There's like one where you become an onion in Mario Odyssey, because the whole point of Odyssey is you transmutate between things. So there was a level with that similar, like go up and then the bottom half of you would snap up. It would be interesting to hear like all the direct influences. But yeah, I think those were kind of the standout segments for me. I think again though, like for 12 hours building toward what you built toward story wise, that's my biggest complaint though, is just like, don't try to have this big payoff if it doesn't really matter. I thought it was silly. The writing was the only thing holding back the game, but at the end of the day, the gameplay felt fun. The only thing I wanted to ask you about is like, did you care that like, what did you think of the difficulty of the game? Did you think it was balanced? Fine.
And probably err on the too easy side of things.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
I think so too.
How difficult can it be when you've got to? There's got to be some element of luck, or if you struggle too much, they throw you a bone. Like we about got locked at that one point where you just kept dropping into the water, and it just recognized.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know how difficult it can be, but it was definitely simpler.
Yeah, that was almost like more of a bug, like where I was falling in on like repeat. But I agree it was maybe a little too easy, but I feel like boss fights you actually truly had to coordinate, or some parts of the levels.
Yeah.
The centipede was a cool segment too, and that's the one where I'm thinking like, if you're not together, you're not just going to get by it. Like that's what I think I liked about it. There were parts where, say you're traversing and platforming and you get across something and I'm struggling with something and all of a sudden I'm too far behind or whatever happens, or vice versa, it catches you up. The one I keep thinking about is like, remember at one point I was on the kites or whatever, the dragon where you're going through the rings, and just like couldn't get enough lift to like get in it, and finally it was just like, go to the top, which is fine. You don't need to be there all day. But I do like that the centipede portion, or a portion where like I'm the boat and you're the ball, or like I'm pulling out levers that you have to attach to and we're coordinating platforming in a specific segment. I like that those became like actual checks where it's like, no, look, like there are 10 periods of this game that you have to do properly to advance. They were never too difficult, but they existed where you feel like you earned it. You know what I mean? And I think that they did that enough. So with all that in mind, I'd say, yeah, like I land on like an 8 for that game. And like anything else, like I'll be there for the next one and I'll be excited about it. I'm sure we'll do it right here. Like they're good games at the end of the day. I don't think it's game of the year material like It Takes Two was. I don't think It Takes Two was game of the year material either, but at some point this is getting like a little bump, to your point, because of what it is and the fact there's nothing like it, and that it's an experience that you can't get elsewhere.
Yeah. I was just writing just then. I think what would be really cool, and I mentioned this while we were playing, because it was so sectioned out and it was kind of different in each section. If we found out, like end of the year or something like that, that this game in its entirety was really just a play test, and from it, one part got pulled and made into a full game where you just live in that world. And I don't know if all the rest of the game comes with it. Like you still have the split screen stuff. But because it bounces around so much and people are going to have their favorite parts, it'd be cool if it's like we've actually been watching and seeing like the whatever the metrics on it, however they would do that. This was everyone's favorite. This is going to now be a full game where they delve deeper, or maybe even if it's just DLC or something, but something like that where they move forward based on how people kind of liked each section.
That's interesting because they've never done DLC before, but the problem with that plan, because I like it, I think, is that they have like too much ADHD. You know what I mean? Like all of their games have always just been like hyper. They've never made a singularly focused game, because even A Way Out, which sounds like it could be, the reality is, like we said, you're only in jail for a little bit, but in actuality it's like puzzle, climb, coordination, stealth, fighting, what, like it moved quite a bit. And so I'd almost be more curious in what you're saying, simply because can they make a whole game that's singularly focused? And even more interestingly, if it were multiplayer, could they make a game like that that doesn't hop genres to stay good, but instead stays good because of what it is, you know? a good example, like probably the piece if I were to ask them to pluck something out would be like the fantasy town. Remember where like we were just trying, like I was trying to figure out which potion combinations did what to me. You're like rolling cats around. Like we found the Dark Souls thing. That was all in that one like magic town. Um, that's where I think they could thrive, is something where like there are little puzzles just to be found that are like organically in the world around you. Like I could see them having fun with that. And that's the spot where they did a pretty good job in the whole game of giving you little things just to do for fun that didn't mean anything. Although you and I complained, I think rightfully so, that like that could have been a trophy. That should have been a trophy. Like,
Yeah.
because we did the slide through the tube, or like, at from the very first level. Oh, we didn't talk about my favorite segment. I think the singularly coolest thing was when I was driving the motorbike and they gave you the captcha. Like that was creative and
Yeah.
fun and cool. And it almost feels like a spoiler to even talk about that to someone. Because I've got a couple of friends who are playing the game and I'm just like, all I say is like, have you done the motorcycle part yet? Because just the fact that pops up is like funny,
Yeah.
So I like when they dabble in that, but that's what I think Fantasy Town kind of leaned into, because you and I were just like doing our own thing. We were trying to figure out if it pushed the plot forward because we weren't exactly sure what we were doing yet. But I thought that felt cool, where I was like, all right, I got 3 potions. I put 2 in. Oh, this made me a frozen cat. This turned me into a hippo, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
I could see them going that genre, but still it would let them play like a little bit.
I think too, like as much as everyone loves Resident Evil, like the puzzles are a big part of that game and what people love about it. So they could kind of walk on with some more difficult puzzles, I guess. And the whole premise of the game lends itself to DLC so easily because they just go into one of Mio or Zoe's earlier books. Boom. There's a whole new world.
Yep. I agree with that. Like, yeah, they could be like, oh, they found this fragment in the like remnants of Raider, whatever.
Yeah. And they move forward.
Yeah. The last thing I thought was kind of annoying about it, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the stream as well, but I just thought one part of the premise that was really stupid is this idea of like fantasy versus sci-fi in terms of fandom. Like, I don't know that many people who like one and just dislike another. Like, I feel like in actuality, somebody who likes one of those might also like the other one. And I feel like it'd be very rare for somebody who liked fantasy to not understand the appeal of sci-fi to someone else, or vice versa. Like, they're both sort of in the realm of fantasy, and that's silly in the first place. Now, if it was like historical nonfiction and sci-fi or something, sure, but like that tug felt like artificial from the very beginning, right? Let alone the idea of like the the outside world of Zoe and Mio like affecting them. Like we said, you didn't even know what Zoe's problem was until the last like hour of the game. She literally mentioned no personal conflict until like the 11th hour of the 12-hour game. And then Mio is suddenly like resolved and just trying to fix Zoe. Their roles completely switch, no explanation. So that was all just kind of random in the writing. But I digress. I feel like we've covered it. We both feel like we're at 8, so call that the official Dexbuild score. Put it on Metacritic, right where it belongs. Dexbuild gives the game an 8.
Are we an 8 out of 10 or an 80 out of 100? What's our scale here?
8 out of 10, 1 month after launch. We'll be late, but we'll give you a review eventually. That's our motto. All right, next, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ender Magnolia. You're a little further, but I've actually started playing. I'm almost caught up to you. I think I just want to talk a little bit about the game. I know we talked about it in last month's episode, so if y'all haven't seen that, it's timestamped in our podcast from February. But I've been loving it. I think like I have a couple complaints I want to talk to you about. I got a couple observations I want to get a read on from you now that we can actually like talk about it. On the whole, though, for somebody who maybe wasn't there in the last episode, it's a Metroidvania game, sequel to Ender Lilies, which came out like maybe 4 years ago. Kind of like an anime sort of neon bright color scheme, but like in a dark environment. And I don't remember if this was the case in Ender Lilies, but at least in this game, the idea is you're going around collecting these homunculi, which are essentially like your moves and upgrades, like in any Metroidvania game.
I don't think you're doing that, but there is still the premise of like you go through purifying. Like all of your
Oh, that's right. You
bosses,
were
you
purifying
purify
like
them.
flowers and stuff. You're right.
Yeah, I just don't think you
Were there any
gained.
homunculi? You had skills still, right?
Yeah, because I remember at the end of the game, I was trying to find the right combination to actually beat it. But I don't think that those necessarily came from what you beat
Like
during the
beings.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Could. I don't know. I'm not the one to
No,
test my memory on.
well, I also mix up, particularly because of art style, Minoria and Ender Lilies. And I know
Yeah.
Minoria, you're like a priestess going around saving your sisters and whatever, but um, that leads to my one gripe. I only have one gripe, and it's pretty small. And I think I even asked you about this because I noticed it when I was watching your Let's Play. But I just think, as cool as the homunculi are, I love how when you stop, they all like pop out. They're next to you. They're with you at your benches. I think that's a fun, like, kind of twist on a party. But I do think for a game that's so focused on boss fights and sort of like bullet hell elements or dodging stuff, it's a lot to look at. Like the fact when you swing your sword, something like 3 times as tall as you pops out like a hole in front of you, makes it hard for me to like keep an eye on how close I'm out of the boss. Like he's throwing rocks in my face and I'm trying to like slip between them, but I'm like, is my hitbox me or is it where my homunculi is and whatever? Like that's the only thing I wish they could figure out. Even if they stayed like with you but behind you, you know? So the sword just came out in front of you, but it's the fact they like pop out, you know, a
Well,
whole
I
extra
think
like
if you saw it on both sides of your character, that would really mess with you.
for sure. I mean, yeah, it'd make it probably even harder to know where your hitbox is, but
It
why not just have the
seems,
power be sort of like spectral then? It's like just the sword or the arm, you know?
yeah. I think,
Um
first of all, you've already said homunculi more than once. That in itself is an issue. Like, don't make me read and say a word that I can't say in the first place over and over and over
I
again.
agree with that. As your main your main thing.
Yeah. But I think also what you're describing, I know what you're talking about because I get a sense for it. Like I can feel it right now. But I wonder if it lends itself to you're not looking at your character on the screen. You're looking at a general space that your character is within. So when you're dodging bullet hell, whatever you said there, you're not following your exact character. There's essentially like, like an outline of a
Yeah.
shape, and that's what you're fixed on. You know that you need to move this shape this way or that. So I don't think, and you'll have to let me know if it sticks with it as you've played further. I don't know if that will always be an issue. I definitely took a lot of damage up front because in order to be close enough for my arm to make contact, which is way too close for that
Yeah.
scythe to come out, you're also now way too close to just quickly get out of dodge. So you're taking unnecessary damage that way. But I think you settle into it. Like I said, you're almost just mentally multitasking with your eyes. Like
Yeah.
I've got a bead on where my kind of blurry self is. I'm more locked in and can better clearly see what's coming at me or where the boss is. And you just have to almost like, it's like a foreground background type thing. Like what are you focused on? And I think you start to focus
I agree with
less.
that. But I think the problem is like the homunculi even has color to them. Like make them all blue so you stand out because of that. Like just something differentiating. Because I do agree that's what they're going for, and mostly it's fine. Like I'm not taking a ton of damage. It's just like a little extra. It's not like automatic where like Hollow Knight, you're like this very bright white little character in a pretty dark backdrop. You know where you are at all times. So I just think it's like in a game like that that's so precise, it's just like any lack of edge is tough. But that's a good transition to my next question to you, which is, do you feel like though the game is slightly easy?
I remember Ender Lily being very difficult, at least at
Me
times,
too.
very difficult.
Me too.
I've not rammed my head up against the wall yet. Now, as you so rudely pointed out yesterday, I'm only halfway through.
Maybe I don't even know if that's the case, but
yeah, I've not been especially stuck. I would say the the most difficult part of the game is playing the game not realizing that you could parry. Like,
yeah,
which is another point. If you've already figured that out, I'd like to know how quickly you figured that out. But
Well, I love that character. If you're talking about the one I have it assigned to like triangle or something, but
no,
like
no, no,
so not the character, then no.
no,
I have
like
the
a
character that like you
proper
take a
parry.
hit and then he swings at
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
No. So for like
Why do
the
they
first
not tell
6
you that?
episodes, because it's not just a button on your controller. It's a thing that you put on, and it now is like it goes to your R1. I forget if it's like a totem or what, but it's a thing that you put on it. And there's different kinds of it. Like I've since unlocked one that doesn't do like a shockwave. Now I've got some kind of a pyrotechnic one, but there's another that will do whatever it is. There's multiple types on it, but you've got to put it on, and then your R1 becomes like a proper parry. And
See, we
having
can't
that
talk
is a
about buttons
game changer.
because I changed all the buttons because like the reason being because I'm playing Khazan, which we'll talk about shortly. I needed the buttons to be the same. So like
Yeah.
I made like dodge is circle, R1 is like one of my attacks, R2 is the other. So basically I have R1 is like my main attack. R2 for now at least I think is like my little turret, that pops up and shoots while you run around. And then I made it where square is like the big punch and then triangle is my parry, so to speak, where you take the hit and then you swing back at the thing that hit you. What I don't love about that, and it makes sense now knowing there's a parry built into the game, is that move has like a little bit of a cooldown. It's not
Mhm.
long, but when you like do the homunculi parry, at least it takes maybe like 3 seconds before you can use it again.
Yeah, I couldn't get that one. I couldn't get the timing right, but once you get to this other, I'm telling you, it's just the game changes because it's not just
You
that you
said
can
episode
parry.
6, but I'm beyond that for you, so I must have it, or I didn't understand what it did.
Well, so I end an episode getting it and I read it. I read the description. I've said it clearly out loud, and then I forgot everything about it until like two
Yeah,
episodes later. I'm like, oh, now I know. But so like it doesn't just parry and block damage, but it'll deflect damage. Like that one you start with is a shockwave. So there's
yep,
different points where I'm sitting on a platform and somebody from way across the way shooting at me, and there's somebody in the water right below me trying to hit me also. And I'm just waiting
yep,
for them to keep shooting because every time they do, I parry and it bumps him on the head, like with a little shockwave. So
yep.
full circle, the game itself has not been difficult. I don't think really at all. I would say
I agree with that.
6 to 7 difficulty very intermittently. Not knowing
Yep.
that I could parry made the game even still harder than the difficulty itself was.
Which I'm having, and I still would say I think it's that easy. I think the only boss I've died to more than like twice has been Gorm the Giant or whatever, just because he had such a big health pool
Mm-hmm.
that like it took me a while to like chip it down. But even him, I wouldn't think I died maybe 5 times. Which in the game they put you directly next to fights with your bonfires or checkpoints,
Yeah.
and that's a good transition as well to something else I've liked a lot about the game, which is important for Metroidvania. The map's incredibly good. Like the blue to tell you found things. I like that it's like perfect because it doesn't spoil what it is. It's just like you're not done with this room. And if like there's a wall you can't get through because it puts a red X on it and that room is gray, you're like, that room's gray because I can't get through the floor. And then if eventually when I break through the floor, the room stays gray, okay, well I'll go explore,
Mm-hmm.
but otherwise like it lets you know like, all right, tune that out by making sure everything's blue, because why not? And if it's a hidden wall, it immediately turns blue. Like once you find the thing, that's great. They give you what I found. I'm curious about this for you. They give you markers to put on your map, but have you found like I'm not using them because the map's so good? Like it shows me exactly where what I can't get through is. If it's gray, I know I got to go back. I have no reason to really put markers on things.
Yeah. I used
Um,
them in the very beginning, and I think I had one or two. And then by maybe like the next episode, I realized like you have that legend over there on the side of your map that tells you exactly what everything
mhm.
is. So like I had put it over top of some kind of a barrier that's clearly a barrier if I just look to the left. So I took them back
Yep.
off.
And you and I think, are similar in that we like and enjoy exploration in games. I think at its core, that's why we like Souls games. That's why we like Resident Evil. Like those games are about looking in the nooks and crannies, finding the secrets, finding everything. So obviously this map enables that. But the other thing I really appreciate about this game, and I think there are games where I don't want this, but I want it in this game, which is the ability not only to fast travel, but to fast travel from anywhere. So
Yeah.
like the fact I can just pop up in my map, be like I'm curious about there and zip around. Because the thing about a Metroidvania is it can be hard to get to spots. And if suddenly, because I want to check what's up in this corner, and I know like I don't even want to go do that because I'm gonna have to climb out of this spot and go all the way across my map. Or at the very least, I got to get back to a checkpoint to then fast travel. This game is only made more enjoyable by the fact I can just zip around and make sure stuff's blue, see if I missed a
I
secret or
think
found I needed an upgrade.
that specifically, I think, is why they do it. Because if it's such a prominent part of a game like this is clearing out areas and it's like celebrated, like it turns into this nice, enjoyable blue color,
Yep.
then you got to make it easy for someone to play that game. Like the game inside the game is just, now that I've got a new method of transportation or exploration, now I'm going to zip there, I'm going to zip there, I'm going to zip over there. Like it gets done quickly so that you can check those boxes and then get back into the rest of the game. Which for me is one of the things that this game does better than a lot of probably most games is, and I've done surprisingly well at calling out, like I'll come to an area where I can't progress and I'm like, oh, okay, well I must be getting one of these, or I must be having this ability come up here soon. Like it seems like every single one of them, because of the challenge I've run into, I've been able to like expect what's coming next. And they don't stop giving you new methods of exploration.
No, it's actually, I've been tempted to text you before because I'd be like, are we going to get another jump? Like I've got a double jump, but am I getting a third jump? Like I got a double jump and a dash. And then suddenly I was sitting there like, that's a pretty steep straight up wall. I was like, we're getting a wall climb. And then you get it. Like it's definitely made for people who know Metroidvanias. The other one that's fairly obvious is I got to one point that it like makes like a sideways V, and the one part's an elevator. And I was like, why can't I get the elevator to go the rest of the way up? And all of a sudden I was looking, I was like, there's little
a
orbs.
little cog.
I was like,
I'm
gonna grapple hook.
Yep,
soon,
hook shot, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I get it. I get what they're doing. And so suddenly I'm like, okay, now that means every gray spot, is there something I don't understand how I'm going to get it? And the answer is no so far. I'm like, all right, this is what I'll get that'll let me do this. Once you get wall climb, you can get almost anywhere, as long as the walls aren't slanted. Except there are rooms where, like, say it's a big room, it's tall. There are rooms where, like, I'll have gone up both walls, I've done everything on the floor, but I can't get to like the middle of it. And then suddenly same deal, I'll be like, floating orbs. I'm obviously going to be able to like hook up to get to something in the middle of this room.
I've done a lot of the Super Mario thing where you would get the running start and then just fly up and do that kind of deal where I get up as high as I can and I run and jump and then I do the attack, dash, attack, just like trying to hover as far into the center as I can. Yeah.
Just to uncover the map. I do it for that reason a lot, which did help me find there was one of those big rooms. When I got to the middle, I saw it had like a box with like a cutout in it. And that's one of the rooms where eventually I'm going to like be able to zip line up to it. But I was like, all right, good to know there's something in the middle of this room that I can't get to yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the whole, I'd say it's great. Like, I think the best way to describe it for me, and I'm curious if you feel this way, is like, I don't think it's the best at anything as a Metroidvania, which sounds bad to say, but I think it's like really good at almost everything, which is going to end up making it probably a top 5 or 10 Metroidvania for me. So again, it's not like it has the best combat. That's probably Hollow Knight. But I think it has better exploration than Hollow Knight. It might be the best map. I mean, the only map that maybe is better is, I think I told you, Prince of Persia, or Prince of Persia Lost Crown is maybe the only better map in a Metroidvania. Traversal, I don't feel unrewarded, to your point, because of the slow drip of what they give you. I love that they give you double jump right away. Like, because if it feels important, but you don't have dash yet. But then you get dash pretty early, and suddenly you're like, I'm already done with traversal, but no, then it's wall climb, that's grappling. Like, you're still getting stuff. So the drip of your upgrades.
Have you already got wall climb?
Yeah.
And
I just got ground pound.
And you've also already got wall climb?
Yeah, I think I did wall climb first. I went down to the crystalline caves before I did the magicite mines, which apparently is a little out of order. But I mean, it's not, because you can do anything. But
can you even? So you also have Hattie then? Not just Hattie. You've got like super Hattie.
I don't think I have super. Oh yeah, running Hattie. Yes, because that's how you break through walls. Yep.
Wow. You are. I mean, however you explore this game.
I'm probably 5 or 6 hours in. It's not a super long game, but.
Yeah, no, but I'm like double that. And last episode I got wall climb.
But again, because I did that before, So
Right.
we did areas differently. So like I
Right. Yeah.
just got ground pound and super heady.
But I was trying to think of how
Um,
you have to progress because, like I said, like so if you've already got the ground pound, then you had to have super heady. Like I also only
super
just
heady
got
gets you to
super
both.
heady.
Oh, okay.
Not like last episode, but maybe like 3 episodes ago, which would have for me been like hour 7-ish, I guess. But yeah, I mean
I
that's
looked at
just
our levels. So before the episode you uploaded today or including it, I don't remember. I'm level 26 or 27 and you're like 33.
gotcha.
So that gives you an idea of like space that we've explored. But anyway, I think this will be up there. I think the art style is really good. Like it's almost always strikingly pretty. I think probably its lowest things on its rung for me are pretty forgettable boss fights. Like the kind of robot-y designs all kind of look the same to me, like of all the things you're, restoring the memories of or whatever, or
Oh my gosh,
attuning.
those cutscenes whenever they pop up, I feel like
Cutscenes are cool.
they are, but
They're
they
flashing.
feel so difficult to follow. Like I almost need to go back and rewatch them
Yeah.
again because I'm trying to figure out. Maybe I'm making the mistake of trying to figure out who some of these faceless people are
Yeah.
before it takes the opportunity to actually tell me.
My belief is it's first person of the person you're attuning. So like you're in their eyes. Because a lot of times you see their hands and stuff. But I have to
So
go back and revisit one.
this could also be spoilery, but so if you've got wall climb, then you watch the Lars one. I mean, Lily, Lilac, whatever my name is, main
I think
character's
it's the
name.
same. I think it's like a shortening of it.
She's clearly the baby in the little vial, right?
I think so.
Okay. Because I've been
Yeah.
trying to like connect all of these people to her this whole time. Like earlier, there was like talking about a sister. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's whatchamacallit from Ender Lily. Is that Lily? Like, is this?
You remember more than me about that game, and because I remember very little.
I
Because I played that during COVID with like a swath of who knows how many Metroidvanias. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I was just I liked it, but it was like a game among other games. This one stands out to me.
I was just
Um,
saying in my last episode, did I think a difference between you playing and me playing? This is the kind of game I think because you're able to just sit and go,
yeah.
you're able to retain a lot more. You're able to move a lot more freely, maybe because you are also just sitting down and going.
Yep.
Me having it spaced out, it kind of slows the game down enough that I think that is probably my biggest negative of it, which is obviously not the game's fault. Which, and this will come up too because our What Have You Been Playing list is about to get very lopsided. Sleep regression for babies, infants, toddlers, whatever age they are, infants is real. It's real.
Uh-huh.
I think we're coming out of it. So, like all of these nights where I would be playing and I haven't been, I think are about to be nights again where I'm playing.
And that'll help you just play games in general, on your own time and for this. Because I do think there's something to what you're saying. I wish, like, I'm glad I'm doing it because on the one hand, there's something to the responsibility of playing for the channel that you're like, all right, I gotta pump out episodes. You actually keep your pace. Like I'm always like, oh, I don't have a Khazan episode for tomorrow or whatever it is, Um, the flip side of it is like sometimes you got to slow down because
Yeah.
you're ahead of yourself or you just can't keep up and you're talking, you're not paying as close attention. It's not like leisure time, like you're working, so to speak, as opposed to like when you sit back to just play a game, you're going to play it differently. You're not worried about how it looks like, oh, am I slowing things down? Is it boring to watch? You're just playing exactly how you want to play.
Well,
Like
in
there's
this kind
that
of
to it
game
as well.
too, I was actually, again, talking to, I guess, myself, but this seems like the kind of game that you could be playing down in your office space.
Yep.
And then just throw it on the Steam Deck and keep going upstairs with it or something. Like, are you playing it at all on the go like that? Because this could easily be a game while you're waiting to fall asleep, kind of a deal.
Yeah. So I've played it on Steam Deck. I have it on PlayStation, but I can stream it. And same thing on the computer. A great second screen game.
Yeah.
Because there's no voice acting, no whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's my only problem with like, for example, Kingdom Come. Like even though it's chill, and a lot of times I might be like out doing side quests or doing stuff, like it's so story based. Like it's not, you can't really put on a podcast or put on a second screen thing because like you're gonna be pausing every 5 seconds to watch something or hear something.
If you've invested that much time in a game like that, if you also caused yourself to start to lose grasp of what's going on because
Yeah.
you let it become a second screen, or you started listening to a podcast, that would be depressing.
Well, yeah, and the flip side is Kingdom Come is so immersive. I've never been bored. You know, like being in it is what's fun about it. Like feeling so much a part of everything. So I think it would take me out of it if I was suddenly listening to like, you know, Bill Simmons or something, you know, and like
Yeah.
it's not you're not in that
Yeah.
world. So I think like that's why I like that one. But Ender, I'll be interested to see like in the Pantheon. At some point I need to open a backlog list, figure out every Metroidvania I've played and rank them. I mean, we know what number 1 is, but like after that it becomes a bit of a free for all.
I've had
And I'd be interested to see what lands where.
so many urges, like to have a game that I can play where it doesn't matter. And I think I may or may not end up doing whatever Pinocchio, Lies of P. I might do that, but more than I would want to do that, I really want to go play Hollow Knight again, because I remember it so fondly.
I do think you should play it sooner than later, because what you don't want to do is play it before Silksong to the point where then Silksong is not as enjoyable. You know, like I think you're gonna want them spaced out still. But I think it's worth the replay. But Lies of P off channel, no pressure.
Yeah.
That's
I just
like
don't
a game
know
of the year contender.
No, it can't be though. See, that's the thing. That's what I'm running into.
No, I'm saying for its year. Like game of the year. I think I had it second or third, like behind the dual tie that was Baldur's Gate and Zelda. Like Lies of P was right there behind those, you know.
Gotcha.
And not every year has a game like those two. So like last year, Lies of P could have won game of the year easily. It's better than Black Myth. It's better than Stellar Blade for sure.
It'll be one whenever we have the larger discussion about our debt forgiveness backlog, that episode. That one will work its way through because it's got DLC, and I'm counting it current because of the DLC.
Agreed.
But that intro is my problem of I got to start playing games that are current so that at the end of the year I can have conversations about games that came out this year.
Agreed.
And so I looked. This is another good transition here. You're playing Khazan. I looked because we talked about it so much playing Demon Souls, same day as AI Limit, right? AI Limit, that's what it's called.
Yep, AI Limit. Yep.
So you doing the other one? I thought, all right, great. I'll go on and start planning. I'll do the other one. And then
I thought that would work too. And then the reviews fell where they fell.
Yeah, it didn't take much scrolling at all to see a little. First of all, I saw the lesser price. I'm like, well, why is this only $35? And then I saw a few reviews, and it's like,
yeah. I'm actually not sure how short it is. I'm gonna look real quick. AI Limit. How long?
And I don't think anything I read suggested it was a bad game. And some of the complaints of it, that's real short. Some of the complaints of it, like those complaints exist for any game. Like there's no perfect games out there, so it's not really fair. But it already wasn't enough for me to say, all right, well, what's the next new game?
Well, I think I know what your next game should be, and I don't remember if I said it out loud to you. Did I?
You did, yeah. And they started talking about it on Kind of Funny. I think Andy's playing it. Yeah.
Already?
Yeah. I think he went to LA and played it.
Oh, like Bethesda or whatever? Yeah. So I'm trying to pitch that Andy plays Doom Dark Ages for our channel.
I love Doom. I skipped the middle one, but I definitely love that first one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people just didn't love it as much as the other. I mean, a lot of people loved it still, but I think Dark Ages I could see you playing, and that's May. And like that feels pretty reasonable for you to be ready for. Done with Demon Souls, done with Ender Magnolia for sure. Maybe something else pops up between now and then, but Doom, that game looks so cool.
Be on the lookout. But yeah, you've been playing Berserker.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of this Berserker. In fact, I've been misremembering how far I've watched a lot of episodes multiple times. It's good.
There's a fun topic I want to get to in this actually to get your opinion of. But before I get to it, I'll just give you my overall thoughts. I would most liken it for folks who aren't aware of it. Go ahead. Yep. Oh.
Game of the year? Yep. To this point, game of the year? Okay, now keep going.
No, that's Kingdom Come. Okay. For sure. That's going to be extremely difficult to dethrone. So maybe Souls-like of the year.
In a respective category, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I think I think so. The game I would most closely liken this to is Neo. I think I've told you that before. The reason for that being there's a central hub. In Neo, there's not. There's a menu, but imagine like a Firelink, and then from Firelink, you're launching into
The
missions.
crevice
So
is this Firelink, right?
the crevice is the
Yeah.
Firelink, which is funny. That's impossible not to find funny. Um, so you go into missions. Now the difference between that and like a Bloodborne, where in like the Hunter's Dream you had the tombstones and they all had 5 levels, but those 5 levels were still ultimately interconnected. So you could pick the 5th option and walk all the way back to the first, similar to Demon Souls as well. This one is like Headstone has 6 missions, but they are standalone missions. Side quests pop up as a result of NPCs you find, so on and so forth. But they are individual missions, main mission, side quest. That's it. Basically, a mission might be like an hour long, followed by a boss that takes you 2 hours to beat. That's a whole topic we'll get to here in a minute. So call it 3 hours a level, essentially. And then once you uncover or save an NPC, they might be like, "Oh, I'm a blacksmith. I need my hammer." And you go to like sort of remixed versions of the levels that might have like mini bosses or just items or time trials or whatever. Um, and then you get an item, you help an NPC, or you get better loot. The other reason it's like Neo is there's a loot system. So unlike Dark Souls, where there's intentional items, there are intentional item locations, but then you're getting 6 pieces of armor fly out. Some are better than you. Like every time you find something, you got to go to your menu. Are my gloves better than my previous gloves? Like you're doing that a lot. I
Yeah,
could take it or leave it.
I just finished your episode where you were banging your head on the wall because you had a very weak, relatively speaking, weapon.
I took me like till the 6th episode or something to get my sword that I got in the first mission like upgraded.
Well, I think in this
Um,
case, it's like episode 3. You had things in your inventory at like 140 or so, and what you were swinging was like 108. Like it was a significant
yeah,
percent.
yeah. I realized like I had been handicapping myself. Um, Now I've got the opposite. I've got like armor that's good, but it's too heavy, or I got stuck where like from episode like 2 or 3 to like 6 or 7, I kept finding dual wields that were not as good as my current dual wield, and I hated it because it's still the base white dual wield. It just had really good attack damage. Um, but what's cool is there are set bonuses as well, right? So if you find 3 items from a set, you get like the perks that are listed out. They turn yellow, and then as you add them, they get better and better. So sometimes it behooves you to keep something that maybe isn't as good as another, but you're getting health regen from killing enemies because you got 4 pieces on, and that's ultimately better than a little more defense or
Is that a
something.
Neo thing? There's another game that does that.
Yeah.
Is it?
Did Stellar do it also?
No.
No, because you just had singular outfits, not pieces. But
I
it's
mean,
not uncommon
obviously
to set
you played
bonuses.
better the less you were wearing, but
That's what I felt.
yeah.
Um. Okay. The game, the story is whatever. Take it or leave it. There's nothing wrong with it, but essentially, like it's a revenge story. You're like possessed by this ghost who you fight as like the first or second boss. No spoilers. That's in the demo. And then ultimately you two are like, fuck it, like let's not kill each other, let's work together. I can help you restore balance to the netherworld if you help me get revenge on these people who cast me out of our town and tried to kill me. um Again, not bad, it just exists, but the combat is so good. It feels so good. It really accommodates playstyle. I think I told you like this game can be Sekiro or it can be Bloodborne, and it's totally up to you, and it doesn't punish you either way. Whereas Black Myth Wukong is a game for people who Bloodborne, and Stellar Blade is a game for people who like Sekiro. Like generally speaking,
Yeah.
the mechanic parries or dodges. This game is both, and both feel good. Like, and it could be situational, right? Like you could be like, "Ooh, it's a high risk parry. If I miss it, I'm going to be in trouble." Um, Also, your quote unquote parry isn't even actually a parry. It's called a brink guard. It's like a last second block that drains stamina. You also have a parry, which is like to hold guard and hit attack right before they hit you. I find the timing on it incredibly difficult, so I don't try to do it. I'm sure if I took the time, I could figure it out. So again, tons of play styles, skill trees to unlock, armor to find. That all feels great. This game is the hardest Souls like I've ever played. Before this, it was Sekiro, simply because the comparison I always use is like Elden Ring is one end of the spectrum from Souls-likes, and Sekiro is the other when it comes to FromSoft. In that Elden Ring, you can play any style. You can have spirit summons, you can be magic, you can hit heavy, you can be fast, you can be slow, you can do whatever. Like you can level up however you want. You can have the best spirits you want or none. You can summon. There's a 50 billion ways to solve a boss that you're struggling with, or just go somewhere else entirely. Right?
Yeah,
Sekiro is a
just leave.
straight line. Yeah, just leave. Be like, this boss is too hard, and you go somewhere else, and you get stronger, you come back.
Yeah.
The game literally teaches you that from moment one. They put the tree sentinel in front of you for a reason,
Yeah.
right? Like you can try to fight it, but the point of that is like you can be an idiot. You can spend 10 hours on this. We don't care, but I wouldn't recommend it. Sekiro is a straight line, and when you get to a boss, you have to beat the boss. And when you beat the boss, you're going to beat the boss by deflecting, or you're going to die 50,000 times. Like that game is the exact opposite. It's like play it this way. While Khazan keeps you on a line, I mentioned there's like ultimately different ways you can handle bosses. You can buff your weapons in certain ways. Like it's a little more free flowing than Sekiro, but it's still a straight line. And when you launch the game, you have two settings: easy and normal, which already feels weird, right? Like, why is that the two names, right? Why is it easy, normal? Why is it normal, hard? Why aren't there three? You would think like base is easy, normal, hard. And I'm sure maybe you unlock a hard. It's hard. Dude, normal is so hard that like I got through the first two bosses okay. I'd played the demo, so that helped, right? Like I'd seen them. But even then, 5-6 tries max. When I got to the third boss. Have you seen it yet?
No. So don't go too far. I know it's coming. I think you said it's like episode 5 or 6. And now that I've watched 3 twice.
Where, like, I bang my head on it for an hour real time. Now in our video on our channel, if you guys haven't seen it, I edit out and you'll just see me die a bunch. And I don't even leave in all the deaths. Like if I walk in the door and fuck up, like I'm not bothering with that. But it's enough for you to get the point. And at the end, I was like, oh, I spent an hour and a half. So this boss, I spend an hour banging my head on the wall. And then finally I'm like, let's go. And then like a cutscene starts playing. I'm like, he doesn't look super dead to me. In fact, he looks like he's getting stronger. It was just like mind boggling to me. After how long I spent on it, there was a whole second health bar. And then when I died, I was like, at least this can't be the kind of game where I got to do it all again. But by God, you had to do it all again.
I don't like that. If that could disqualify games, I would let it disqualify games. I hate it.
I think you could. Oh, like a brand new health bar. Well, Dark Souls does it. Yeah. I think I will say this. You learn it though. Like you definitely learn it. At no point once you actually beat it are you like, oh, I got lucky. Like at some point you're like, all right, I get why they can redo the health bar. Now phase 1 is like easy. My goal is to get out of phase 1 without even taking a hit. And what's cool about that is like you suddenly understand I do not have the heart for it. I would never do it. I don't understand the appeal at all. But you are like, okay, I start seeing how these like no hit people figure this out. They just sink the time in to truly learn it. I'm never going to do it. But you're like, oh, this boss that killed me 100 times that I would get out with this much health, at the end, your goal is to not use a single health file. You know, that's cool to feel that happening, you know, like you're like, I'm getting better. But dude, 2 hours every boss is starting to grate on me. It's exactly why I don't stream it. It's why I have to cut every episode, because the other reality is like where I would record for 3 hours of Avowed, it felt faster to be like hour cut, and I knew I could stop at any time. But this suddenly becomes like, well, the boss alone is not a level when I cut it down, or I mean an episode. It's 10 minutes. You know, it's like me dying, 5-minute montage or less of me dying, and then 5 minutes of the successful boss fight. I have to have 40 other minutes. So all of a sudden it means every episode I'm editing together because I got to play a level, and then I got to designate time to fight the boss. And so it takes 2 sessions to get an episode. And that's not a critique of it, but this brings me full circle. I Googled it. And in fact, some cases I didn't Google it. I just see in the Reddit. Some people are like, just so you know, in this game, like you can go find Reddit threads on it right now. In this game, easy is a normal Souls-like, and normal is hard mode. Like that's what the difficulties mean. Because all it's really doing is, dude, the health bars is the thing. Have you noticed, like when I hit a boss, how much health goes away? It's like nothing, you know? So that's why you're learning it, because it literally is like 4 or 5 minutes fights. But that's also frustrating, because in Dark Souls, you might die a bunch, but a successful boss fight might ultimately be a minute and a half or 2 minutes when you're good
Yeah,
at it.
it's hard
Whereas
to
this,
time everything 4 or 5
yeah,
times right. Because it
that's the
probably
thing. Like,
doesn't take them hitting you 4 or 5 different chunks to kill you.
when that tells you how many times it would take, 4 or 5 minutes is suddenly like, you add those up, like taking 6 goes at it, all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, that's a half hour gone, like, just 6 attempts, like once you're getting close. So that's
Now,
tough.
is it this tough if you summon? Like, I think it's possible. Because you do like to
That's a great
play
question.
without that. Yeah.
Here's what I would say. Based on the reviews, it's probably not. I brought a summon in with Viper off camera because I was just curious. The summon died so fast that I couldn't tell. Because Viper phase 1 has 2 phases. And during one of them, he like turns into a tornado. And like that, and it sucks you in. So you have to like back dodge to stay out of it. Well, my summon just got like sucked in and died immediately. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work. Like they can't stay alive. Now you can do stuff to power up your summon, and I hadn't been doing that at all. I'm not fighting all the revenants, that you run into.
Is this one that would scale the enemy's health if you brought in a summon?
I'm going to assume it actually doesn't in this game just because you're doing so little damage and the nature of why the summon exists. What I was going to say, though, is if after 5 more episodes or 3 more bosses or something, this is still the cadence, I'll announce it. I'm not trying to be sneaky, but I will have a moment of shame at the beginning of an episode where I say, I'm dropping it down to easy. Because if it truly isn't
That's
hard,
big.
you can, but you can't go back up. Because there's a trophy
Oh,
for
so
being
you
on.
have to stay in your defeated state.
Yeah, you stay in easy. So it's like when you don't get a trophy for the normal victory. And my understanding, though, is all that changes is the pool of HP for bosses, essentially. And the other that it changes that I can feel, and I've complained about, you're not to this episode yet, the biggest problem with the game is stamina management. Like if you aren't an A in your armor, but even if you are, you have enough stamina. But when it goes down, like this is, from my hand to the microphone right here, is your bar. Like when your stamina is down here, like it refills like this. It's like when you hit a boss, or especially because the boss has these moments where you can do what's called a brutal attack. There are times where I'm like mashing the next attack. You're just out of stamina and you're just like waiting, and it fills back up. And apparently, like it's like a third of the time in easy mode. Like it fills back up closer to like a Dark Souls pace. And it doesn't matter. I have all kinds of upgrades sunk into. I've spent stamina on my upgrades, like my levels. But I also have armor sets, rings, everything doing stamina, regeneration or whatever, or like less stamina for dodging. And it feels like I'm constantly out of stamina, and that doesn't feel good. So if bosses continue to take forever, again, I'm beating them. I know I can beat them. Like I said, I don't know if I told you this. I beat Viper 2 days before they nerfed it.
Yep.
And then I looked, and one of the changes they came when they nerfed Viper was to buff a boss called Rankus, which I fought last night. So I fought Viper on hard mode, then they nerfed it, and I got to a boss that was easier that they made harder. So I'm just like hitting everyone at their hardest stages. And
That's
that boss
fitting
was
for
crazy.
You, though. Yeah.
I mean, I like it, but it's to the point where, like, especially because I'm playing for the channel, there's other stuff coming. Like, it's just a busy spring of games. I don't have any pride in the fact of beating this game on normal versus easy. If truly Souls veterans in the Khazan community on Reddit are like, trust me, easy mode is a normal Souls. Like it will not cheapen it. I'm still dying a ton. That tells me all I need to hear, which is like, I want a challenge where I die 5 to 10 times. I have no interest in spending 2 hours a boss on a game. You know what I mean? That's a long time. And I enjoy it. Like I've gotten it. I've gotten that experience now. Yeah. But now I'm like, I'm good to switch it up.
I wonder if that's something that they'll kind of patch to some extent. Today's
normal hard, I would have picked normal.
Well, so like the kind of funny guys, Andy was saying, well, they've said it multiple times across a few different episodes now with the leveling that it is not great. And the most recent example, he said that he Respect put all of his whatever levels into strength and then leftover went wherever, thinking he was just going to go in. He had a great sword build or something like that. But what he
Oh, and he
found
couldn't
was
feel it.
that even at 99 strength, some of these little people are still taking 3 and 4 attacks to kill. And like
Yep.
that's
That
stupid.
should never happen. Yeah,
Right.
like it should be a balance to decide. But I can't tell, and I don't tell me if they've talked about this. I can't tell though if the game at times wants you to be switching your weapon type because there's only 3. There is dual wield, a big sword, and spear, and they all play very differently. And the tutorial has you try them all. Like you have to go try them all in order to beat the first mission, which I think is a good mechanic. Just to like make sure something you don't normally like might not be something that appeals to you. And ultimately, I'm normally a great sword guy, but I like the dual wield so much that I'm continuing playing with
Dexbuild
it.
got to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Uh,
I did catch you saying that you're getting XP even when you die, which is
to
not
bosses.
common. Yeah. So that
That's
might lend
helpful.
itself to trying something new.
Yep. But to your point, if the levels don't really matter, is that helping me that
Yeah,
much?
so
So
like
I am 10 levels above a mission, and I have no trouble getting through the mission, but the boss still wrecks me,
yeah. I mean, if it's
So
a
I don't know.
Souls like also, then obviously it's gonna pride itself in being difficult.
Hmm?
Something else that was said.
And I should be clear about something real quick. It's hard, but not unfair. I'm simply saying this is a preference.
Yeah.
Like I would not dock the game points for how hard it is because it has an easy mode. And even if it didn't, I would say like I'm not going to say a Souls like is bad because it's hard as long as it's fair. And there are a few times in this game I'm like, damn, I don't even know why I died. I might be mad and be tilted for a second and say that, and then by the end I'm like, all right, that was fair and fun. Rankus is the only boss I've fought where like at the end I was like standing there like I'm not 100% sure why I'm alive, but I survived that time, and I'm glad I never have to fight him again. You know what I
You
mean?
get like the classic like Dark Souls, like your heart beating real. Like as soon as you finish, like a little heat wave and your heart's beating, you can feel it.
Yep.
How far in are
Especially
you?
him because well, he's bad. Not far. I think I'm like 30%, if that.
What like hours wise? Because I got a comparison.
11.
Okay, so also in today's Blessing said something about whether or not he would finish the game.
Yeah.
And I guess he's got a larger quest going on right now where he's looking for a game that's going to change his life. So he's got that in the back of his mind.
It's
But
Kingdom Come. He needs to just fucking play it.
um, I think he said he was 15 hours in, and he turned on his PlayStation and he saw that little icon down there, and he thought to himself, I'm paraphrasing, thought to himself, maybe I don't play it again. Maybe I don't pick it back up. So at 15 hours, he's kind of debating, has he had his fill of it?
Mm-hmm.
So you say you're at
I'm
like
nowhere
11 or
like
so.
that. Yeah,
I
nothing like
mean, and
that.
you don't put games down. Transparently, this is on the heels of putting your most previous game down. No, that's not fair. Avowed. 9 souls, whatever you put
Yeah,
down.
and I
But
quit
you
Nine
don't do
Souls.
that often. So you'll.
I've gotten to a point in my life though where I evaluate them differently. So I'm actually it's interesting you brought this up because what's a good example of that? There have been some like big AAA games lately where I have taken the time and felt like almost guilt. One was last year, and I just finally thought like, am I having fun? Can I justify continuing to play this game? And I found like there's more of a freedom for me to not, because then you feel less intimidated to start them because you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to play. I don't have 100 hours. Well,
Yeah.
look at Kingdom Come. I was like, I'm interested, and if I don't like it, I'll stop it. And here I am 60 hours in going strong because I like it so much. And
Yeah.
what's nice is like it is a game you can pick up between things, but it has me trying games I wouldn't normally. But the flip side of that is like I feel okay dropping something I'm not enjoying. Like it only sucks because with the game you've spent money on
You
it.
pay more. Yeah. Like a book.
Indiana Jones I dropped, and I liked it.
You
There's
won't
nothing
go
wrong with
back
it.
to
But
it.
I may, but it was free, so that helps. It was a
Yeah.
Game Pass game at least. So
Yeah.
there are games I've just dropped off. Eternal Strands is one I played last year, or this year actually, that I liked a lot. It was like a Monster Hunter-y meets Zelda Breath of the Wild kind of thing. And I got like 20 hours in, and I thought to myself, like, say the end is really good. Does that change the score or how I'd feel about this game? No. Like, I get what it is. I like what it is, but there's new stuff coming out. And I hate that feeling of like the backlog jamming up and there's stuff I'm really excited to play coming, you know?
Yeah.
And I already can't remember what came out last fall, but it was really good stuff.
I'm ha-
Zelda was one of them.
I'm having a similar feeling with the game that I haven't even started yet, and I'm already kind of maybe conceding.
What
Maybe I
game?
just won't play it. I gotta think what it's called.
You look so ashamed already, though.
Tilu 2.
Who?
Tilu
Oh, Last
2.
of Us.
Like, I know
Oh,
that I've seen complaints that it's just longer than it needs to be. I also know that there's a
you got to be
show
careful reading
coming.
complaints. There's a lot of incels out there who are really mad at that game.
Okay. But like,
I probably just made them mad if they're watching this podcast, but
totally. I just
honestly, I don't care if they're mad at me. I don't want them here.
I don't know. There's no real reason, honestly. Like, I would not play it because of that. But like, I've had it installed on the machine for a while, and it
Yep.
just seems like one that is going to be such an investment of I focus on this game because I'm not playing the game for the game. I'm playing the game for the story.
Hey, this is a
I
good
already
segue
know
because we're
that.
going to talk about another show. So let's use this as a segue. So
Okay.
leave that behind. I've said what I need about Khazan anyway. Loving it. I'll
Current
finish it.
score.
If I switch to easy, it'll be at the beginning of an episode, so I will have we'll have a moment together where I concede that I'm a bitch.
What's your running score?
Dude, it's probably a 9.
Knowing that Split Fiction's an 8. Compare
It's a 9.
Khazan to Split Fiction.
No, because of what it is. No, because of what it is. But it's a 9 knowing what it is. A 9 for a Souls-like, which the only Souls-likes I can think of that get to 9 territory are Neo 2, Lies of P, and I'd say like Stellar Blade and Black Myth kind of get up close to that, but they're probably in the 8.5 range for me. Even though Black Myth was my game of the year last year, I still feel that way. Last year just didn't have great games.
More likely to approach 9.5 or 8.
8. It could get to 9.5. Like, I could also see a world where switching to easy actually makes me like it more.
Sure.
Like I could see that happening.
Some of the things that were programmed, like Stellar Blade, you could play that game in a button mashing way, or you could play it and not. And similar here, like if a game's easier, you can just explore more of what the dev put together for options.
Yeah. Well, and like I just feel like I'll be more likely to maybe get risky with trying the parries and stuff because it's not as punishing. Feeling the effects of the boss, the stamina, I just could see some of it just feeling good enough that I give it that score. And I almost feel like then you're gonna have to review that game on its 2 settings. Like it's 2 different experiences. But maybe it's not. If people are saying it's as hard as it is, it's probably just no different than harder, or like hard and normal. Avowed had like a death march mode or something like that I know some people are playing.
That's just silly to me.
No desire to make that game harder.
Yeah.
Like it was already challenging for sure because of the way your armor worked. Like you hit these walls where you couldn't even damage enemies properly. And so then to add to that arbitrary sense of upgrade, which I never gave Avowed a final review here, but
that's fine. I don't think you have
that
to.
shit, the economy was fucking stupid. I mean, like I thought the combat felt amazing. It's probably the best like first person melee game I've ever played. But the sense of the problem with the way upgrades worked in that game is they wanted you to be able to switch between 2 loadouts in Avowed. So like you could have dual wield and then you could switch to a heavy sword, which was kind of what I thought about doing at first. Then what I realized, I don't want to go on a whole Avowed talk. I just want to talk about this one thing. So the problem is if you run into an enemy, there's your typical think Destiny, white, blue, or white, green, blue, purple, yellow of like your tiers of armor.
Yeah.
And then each of those have 3 pips in them. So like call it like yellow 1, yellow 2, yellow 3. If you're into something that goes color, like up a color from you, your sword will literally hit them and bounce off. So you have to stay on top of that. So in order to do that, you have 2 or 3 materials that upgrade it.
Yeah, level multiple things.
Yep. Fine. Put them in there. And then, okay, well, I'm going to take one weapon and get it up to yellow so that I actually do damage on this enemy. I have to do that. Okay, well, that's fine. The problem is, whatever you needed to upgrade with that sword means you can't be putting that in your dual wield sword though, because you're trying to get your great sword up. All right, well that's fine, but once it gets the yellow, I can because then the upgrade material changes and gets to like a higher degree. So then you can use your smaller stuff, and then you'll just have something slightly behind. That's fine, except in order to make enough stuff to upgrade your big weapon, you can fuse together the small ones to make the better upgrade material. So like you never have a reason to be upgrading your lesser weapon because you always need the stuff from that to like stack together to get more materials to keep trying to keep up with this other sword. Having an economy that busted was just horrible thinking. Suddenly you can't sell anything. You have all this money, but the money doesn't do anything because you're always trying to buy weapons. You can never find swords that are better at the time. they can balance and patch that, and it will fix the whole game. And I imagine like Avowed in a year will be so much better than Avowed right now. But that game's still probably a 7.5 or an 8 for me. This game, Khazan, is a 9 that I could see going. I think your numbers are right, like 8.5 versus all the way down to an 8. I could see anything in that realm happening. I don't think it'll become a 10. You know, I think you'd feel that already. But it's some of the best Souls-like combat there is, and it's streamlined. Like, I really appreciate the mission structure from the sense of like launch a mission, beat a boss. Like, you know what you're getting with every level. You know,
Yeah.
good enemy variety, good boss variety.
Knowing that we've already been going for a little bit, I don't want you to answer this too in depth. But in playing this kind of game and talking about what it takes to edit it and what your episodes would be like, not game specific, but does it kind of make you think about whether there's value within what amount of time you have to give to do a playthrough where it's I'm streaming, my face is part of the entertainment here. So I'm streaming it, I'm doing all of it. You're capturing my emotions as I go through it. Like, would you ever look at playing a game through that kind of a window? Or would you
Maybe.
still like just time is not there for something like that? Because
I
that
think
obviously
the
that does
problem is,
require chunks.
yeah, it's just like the time and being like on that long definitely affects like how I would feel about it.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, I wanted to segue back to what you said. So you mentioned Last of Us. I want to do two things because it transitions well to one of our topics. But The Last of Us has a season 2 coming out in like 2 weeks. The reality is you're not going to get to that anyway, The Last of Us, before the show launches or starts. Granted, you don't have HBO, you probably won't watch The Last of Us as it comes out. I think here's what I would say to you as my pitch, and I'm not making a strong pitch because I understand either way. What I will say is there's a mechanic, and I cannot go into any detail, nor would you want me to, but all I could describe it as a part of the story of The Last of Us 2 takes strong advantage of the idea of video games and that medium and like immersing you in a story in a way that a TV show will never be able to do. And so my only pitch to you is like the experience of watching the show is like pretty much 1-to-1 for I'd say the show to the game for season 1. Obviously they condensed things and things were different, but like you got the experience, right? Like you saw Joel's daughter die, you saw him find Ellie, you saw what happened in the hospital, you saw how Ellie like felt like he might have been lying about the hospital. Like your story beats. The story beats in 2, I think, explore and leverage it as a game and what it means, you know, what you can do with that in a way that the show that I can think of would not be able to replicate. I imagine they'll change some things and do some things differently to probably do some things that the game didn't do to have other emotional impacts. But that's how I would describe it. And I would say that I'm fairly confident in saying you will be missing out on a part of what is so cool about the game's story and the message it's trying to give you if you only watch the show. That's how I would put that. I also don't feel like it overstayed its welcome. Some people feel that way because there's kind of an end and then the story continues for like 10 more hours after that. But it's only a 30-hour game. And I played it, like I just scarfed it up. So I never was like, dude, where is it? I mean, that's easily in my top 5 favorite games of all time. Now, part of it is the impactful story, right? Like it's not because of its gameplay mechanics, but
I'd have to
good.
figure out if there's some way that I could play it without feeling obligated to go back and play 1 first. Like, because that feels like the kind where I would want that momentum.
Couldn't the show be? You've seen 1. The mechanics, like the gameplay mechanics, are new, like are upgraded so much that like there's not that, and you know what happened because of the show. So
maybe, and I think a closer argument would be just watching somebody do a let's play. But I remember liking the game
they also
I
made
played
a cinematic cut.
more than the show that I watched. Like season 1 for me, I like the game a lot more than the show.
I think that's fair. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. You're spending more time with them. Like a lot of it is the buddy element of Ellie and Joel, right? And like what you lose ultimately, the show tried to drop little Easter eggs, but what you lose is like some of their banter as they're just like walking around, you know, like you're solving a puzzle and them kind of shit talking each other or whatever. Like
Yeah, and
There's definitely something
I
to
kind of
that. And you're gonna
remember.
feel more bonded with someone you're controlling, I think,
Yeah.
which is part of what I'm getting at with part 2.
Okay. I remember part of the end where, I mean, it's not spoilers, but where he's carrying her out. I remember that being like such a powerful moment in the first game. And when it
Yeah.
happened in the show, I remember thinking, oh, wow, we're already here. Like it seemed like
Yeah.
we got there awfully quick.
We got there quick. What I do think the show does that's interesting, I'm curious what your take is on it. Again, there's some perspective I think that part 2 can give you, but like, did you find any level of, well, good or bad, but of like watching Joel in the show and being like, holy shit, like this is kind of fucked up?
I think the show made me think about that. I played the game a long time ago. I think the
Yeah.
show made me think about that more than the game.
Which
I
makes
don't know
sense
if
because
I
I think
ever
part of that's
thought
like in
about
a
it.
game, it's gamified, right? So when you shoot 5 people in a game, it's not gonna have the
Oh, you're
same
shooting
impact
bad
as like,
guys, not other people trying to
sure,
survive.
sure, but like I also think the game like set up the chat between what's her name? Mariana or whatever her name is. The like black woman who, with the fireflies, like what
Mm,
she wanted to do with Ellie and all that kind of stuff where you're like, "Oh, I'm not saying it's good or bad. Like you didn't give this girl a choice, but um of like what they're trying to do to ultimately save humanity. And then when you
mhm.
think about it from the perspective, like, all right, well, these are doctors or people working with it, with like what is ultimately like you could argue not an evil goal, right? Like I think the good part of good
Right.
bad storytelling is like you don't make the bad guy like comically bad. You need to have them think what they're doing is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting conflict. So I do
This
think the show just felt more like holy shit, like he's just assassinating like 20 people. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Who's
um,
like I mean, there are some bad people in the show, but I think what you're meaning is like the kill the one to save the many thing, and he's killing
yeah.
many to save the one.
But like it's his one, and what does that
Right,
mean? Like
right.
they're open about the fact like the point of the story of The Last of Us 1 is like how far will you go for the people you love, and is that good or bad? You know,
Yeah.
like is that the right thing to do necessarily, or are we always in saving her? Are you actually ultimately only being selfish? Which the answer, you know, even Joel would probably say, yeah, of course I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting, and part 2 has a flip mirror different big commentary to make that obviously then follows up all in those questions. But I would say do it, man. I think didn't they just release the remaster for PC too, and it's on PlayStation with PS
I mean,
Pro
yeah, I've
upgrade.
already
Like,
got it installed on the PlayStation. It's the only
looks
reason that well, not the only reason. It's the reason that I haven't got rid of that highest tier PS Plus because I already have it installed and I know it would get rid of it. And I'd have to buy the
yep,
game to play it. We'll see. We'll see.
yep.
But it's
Anyway,
just that one, I don't know. Yeah. That one requires, in my mind, an investment of time where I commit to not letting it fall through.
and the other thing is you're talking about like a game to veg out, like as you could probably imagine, like you're not gonna like relax playing The Last of Us. Like
Yeah.
it's not even that scary. There's I don't even remember as many zombie things. It's just like so heavy constantly. You know, the tone of the show, I think obviously has context for 2 and like leaned into that heaviness, I think more than the first game even did, which might be part of why you liked the game a little more. Whereas, you know, part 2 is more like that tone of the way they produced the show, where it's just like constant, like, oh my god, like you're gonna finish playing and be like, now I need like a break from my video game break. Well, the other show we wanted to talk about, this will be a quick topic, but the God of War show you pointed out to me, I hadn't seen this, but I did do some googling. So, although I need to do my research, my research here. But you mentioned it got a new showrunner, and that showrunner hasn't played the games and doesn't plan to. His name is Ronald D. Moore. Um, so what's interesting is his credits you probably haven't seen or care about all these, but I looked. He did like Star Trek: The Next Generation, but he also did Battlestar Galactica, and he did one other show that's pretty big that people are a big fan of. But I was just curious your take on the idea of there's 2 of these, right? There's the showrunners not playing the game, so they're making the show. The other one though is like Bella famously hasn't watched like any footage of Ellie because her reasoning is like, I don't want to imitate that, right? Like it'll just be my own version. I'm not trying to be Ashley Johnson or whatever. So I'm curious your take on both of those, like actors not playing their games to understand what their characters were like in the previous, and the same for the showrunner, like the creator.
I think for me, first of all, did you figure out what a showrunner is? Is that a writer?
Yeah, sure. It's like the executive producer. So Craig Mazin is like that for The Last of Us. It's like the person who like worked with the studio to make it happen, got it off the ground. They ultimately probably write some of the episodes, direct a couple episodes, but they are the one in charge of like the show's overall vision. So
Gotcha.
J.J. Abrams was the showrunner for Lost, you know, that kind of thing.
So
it's equivalent of like a director across seasons, right? Like the package.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily direct all the individual episodes.
I think for me, both are the same. Being that I don't, it's not as if this story didn't otherwise exist. Nobody set out to make this game into a show so that it could not be like the game that everyone played. So I would be irritated by it. Like obviously if it comes out and it's a good thing, then it's a good thing. People will love it. But knowing how much people love a game like that, or the Ellie character not having ever played it because she didn't want to imitate, like sure, that's noble. But also nobody is watching it for your interpretation. Like they're watching it because they want more of the thing that they already love. So I don't like it. I haven't finished God of War. I'm not one of those people. I still don't like it. I don't like things changing. I don't like characters changing. I don't like actors for characters changing midway through like a series.
The Witcher.
Yeah, don't like that. There's no example of that I like. I might get to a point where I'm fine with it, but if I love the thing enough to want to watch more of it, I don't want to be fine with it. I want it to be everything that it was the first time. So, and to be fair, I like that's not a unique thought that I had. I told you I was on my way to pick up some dinner, and I heard that come up on the Kind of Funny podcast where they talked about that, and I thought more of. I'm curious what you would think about that, because you have played that game and you generally are fine with things like that. For me, it was just an easy, well, that's annoying.
Yeah, I get it. I think my problem with it is actually like, it doesn't have so much to do with like imitating or not imitating or replicating or whatever. Because like the flip side to my argument for that for you would be, for example, like, well, I don't actually just want more of the same because I already have the game. Like, if the show is just a live action take on the cutscenes, like, I'm good. Like, it'd be cool to have, and it's cool it reaches a new audience. But like, the flip side is like some little changes are fun or interesting. Like, I don't want the heart of it to change. I don't need things to change just for the sake of changing. I get the interpretation ultimately though, if like she trusts the showrunner and it's just like, you tell me what we're doing, and he gets her there anyway, but in a way that maybe fits a more holistic vision. It just
if he's still holding the hand of the character,
like Ellie or something,
yeah,
which is important. So actually, that's exactly my segue. The showrunner, I think it matters more, because at least for the vision of what you're doing, I think you should have an understanding of the source material to have an understanding of why the fans who did that are so excited about it.
Right.
And if you don't even understand the heart of it, so for God of War is a great example, because probably Sony or whoever they're working with to do this,
I think Amazon,
I'm assuming adapting,
if I remember right,
God of War 2018, right? Like, we're not adapting God of War 2001, because if you do that and he goes and watches some footage, like God of War the original and God of War 2018 are
yeah. I think it's 2018, yeah.
And so like that's the thing, is like the spirit of that. But like, are you also going to ignore that? Are we going to explore the Greek times as well as the Norse times? Like, how do those things merge? Are we acknowledging Kratos' past? Like, as a showrunner, all those answers don't matter to me. But if you're not thinking about them, like you're not interpreting this the way that like it needs to be interpreted for fans, without considering like the whole package, is my problem. So like, I care actually less about Bella or an actor or whoever understanding their character so much as the person who controls the whole thing having a vision for like, what is it? Why did people like it? Oh, there's this guy who like used to be real fucking spicy, and now he's got a kid, and it's essentially like dad bod Kratos like taking care of his son. All right, what's the serious stuff? Well, he lost his wife. They're going to bury her. Like these are the stories. Oh, he's emotional. This is interesting. That's what changed him. All that should be thought about by the person who's making it. So I ultimately land in the same place as you for those reasons, where it's just if you're gonna make a thing for the fans, I don't think you need a 1-to-1. Like I don't even know how you do that, because God of War is like feels a lot more gamey than like a Last of Us, right? Like Last of Us ultimately was a movie still,
and it'd be hard to make it
God of War,
not looking like the Avengers.
yeah, that's the other thing. What are you gonna do with the axe? Like there's gonna be a lot of stylistic choices, right? There's a lot of climbing and taking down giant beasts. I can't imagine what the budget is. Whereas Last of Us was a lot more grounded. So
I think they've been given 2 seasons already.
And they canceled Horizon, by the way. Like that was going to be a show as well, and that's not going to be one anymore.
I think there's another comparison. Just recently, 10 years, nothing happened for Bloodborne. Can you imagine how much we've talked about all this? If it's not Bloodborne 2, but in fact, it's a Bloodborne movie or a Bloodborne series, that's the big announcement. We're finally doing it. We're getting back to Bloodborne 10 years later. And then you find out it's a reimagining of Bloodborne. The person has no idea. They never played the game. You'd be furious.
I'd be furious, but I'd also be like, dude, this has no business being a movie in the first place. Like,
but whatever, like the same deal. Like for me, that is more relevant because I've played that game and I've listened to people want more for 10 years. God of War might be the exact same. I don't know, but it's just the same thing. Have you seen Andy's
shirt, by the way, that says remaster the game and the font? He wears it like on Kind of Funny, like once a week.
No, that's awesome though. Like I would be, it'd be crazy. It would make me so mad if that, like, I wanted more for that long, and that's what they gave me. And the person's like, yeah, no, never played it. Not really my kind of game.
I mean, they're making a Zelda game. What if that was that? The response
could be the same thing. Like, yeah, if they say we never play the games, like, why?
Yeah. We're just gonna follow Zelda. Who's Link? We don't even care.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see though. I have to think though, while one person might not do it, there might be a reason for that, and hopefully there's enough people involved who are fans and make sure the vibe is what it is or whatever. But I don't need like a bunch of Easter eggs. You just want the feel of it, especially because these most recent 2 lend themselves to good dramatic storytelling. The opportunity is there. The casting of Kratos is going to be so important, and if it's like Dave Bautista or something stupid, I'm going to be annoyed.
That would be tough. Yeah.
Like that's a hard person to be. It's almost like a Vin Diesel, but he's too old, so like who is that kind of character? Like quiet, deep voiced, like serious, like a Momoa shaved head, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking like Jason Statham, but he would bring too much Jason Statham
also. And he's not big enough. Like Kratos is massive.
Yeah,
like I think it's Momoa maybe with a shaved head. The Rock's too old.
Great. Well, The Rock would be the same as Bautista. He couldn't separate himself
like
from the character.
Actor.
Yeah.
Even Momoa is like sometimes a little too like.
Yeah, he's starting to seem a little more Johnny Depp than he did in the beginning.
Dude, I can't wait for you to watch. You gotta watch Fast and Furious 10 because you can tell that guy's having the time of his life being the bad guy in that movie. He's so good in it.
That seems like one that'd be on HBO, right? Maybe
probably. He's just having fun the whole time. You're just like, oh my god, like I can't wait for more of that.
Okay. And yeah, regardless what happens, I think it's coming out on Prime. I'll watch it.
Yep.
I watched all of whatever.
Rings of Power, that garbage ass stuff.
No, actually, I didn't. I never did get back around to it. I watched the Fallout. I watched all of Fallout. Never played that game. Didn't particularly like the show, but I watched it all anyways.
You didn't love the show. I loved the show though. Yeah. But that's interesting because that one was not a retelling of any of the games, but perfectly captured the vibe. You know what I mean? The idea, because all the Fallout games are like slices of life in the same universe and concept, and it was just another one rather than like picking a specific one to retell. And that was a cool way to do it because like it was totally fine. But whoever made that clearly understood the games because it had everything correct. So that's all we can hope for God of War. But we're on a pretty good run of good video game shows. I mean, I know you didn't love it, but like critically, Fallout, Last of Us, like they're killing it. So let's hope God of War keeps up the trend. One last one, small one for games. I don't even know if I told you I was going to talk about this. I played 2 new roguelites. I'm going to talk about one really quickly. I played one called Rainbreaker, which I would simply describe to people as a cyberpunky neon coded Hades, which is a roguelike. So it's not your thing, Andy. But you have a hub. As you beat missions, you're bringing people back. You can upgrade yourself permanently until ultimately you beat all the levels and actually finally beat the game. Um, the other one I played that you don't know about, on Game Pass, they released a game called 33 Immortals. Are you familiar with this at all?
I don't think so.
So there's the idea is you're trying to break out of the 7 Rings of Hell or whatever from Dante's Inferno. And it is a roguelite 33-person multiplayer game. So they drop you all in this map, and there's 33 people. And what I would describe it to you as is like a miniature raid roguelite. So like there's 33 people, and the idea is obviously without voice chat, but ultimately like you all have to coordinate. So like when you go across the map, there's like time limits that happen. All of a sudden these dungeons open. You go into the dungeons to upgrade your gear, but you got to make sure there's like at least like 3-4 people in each one. So when you're all spread out, you can't just be by yourself, or you can't have like all 30 people in one of them because you're not going to cover enough ground. Then when you're actually fighting bosses, it's like, all right, does everyone understand? We got to like break the bracelets like on Walnir in Dark
Volnir.
Souls 3,
Yeah.
so that like he doesn't have powered up charges that take up all the map where your safe spots are. And when safe spots happen, like we all got to go to the different sides, and like you're watching these like 33 people or however many survive the
This is
time of
all
it.
done
Almost
without some kind of chat,
there's like a right bumper to make like
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 gestures.
a gesture, but you don't really need it because once you've
Okay.
seen it, people kind of start understanding it. Um, but it's just fun because you're like, all right, we all got to go to these, like everybody break the ice cubes, and everybody just kind of knows, all right, everybody get to the middle, all right, to the outer edges. Like if you broke his right bracelet, you got to stay on that side because that's the only spot the ground won't be, fire or whatever. And what's cool is like before that final boss fight, you are all surviving all these dungeons, and people might die. There's a res mechanic. You get 1 revive, but you only get like a third of your health back if that happens.
So it's
And then
called
ultimately
33 Immortals.
33
You
Immortals.
could
So
potentially
say,
get to the boss with like only 18 Immortals left.
yep,
Okay, that's cool.
exactly. So you have Ascension, and then however many people can make it to the boss, it's like, all right, that's better odds for you winning that run. Maybe a run takes 30, 45 minutes, not crazy. Then you get upgrades, cosmetics. So like I just got like a dog with 2 different color eyes that follows me around now. Like stuff that's just like fun to have with you.
Right.
As well as like actual power-ups. So like when you get revived, more of your health bar is safe. Power up on your weapons, stuff that legitimately will help you progress further. So I think that's what's cool, is a roguelite that simulates that feeling of a raid without being as complicated as a raid is like a pretty unique idea. I love that idea of like how many of us can make it. The feeling of like, all right, I'm getting better and better at this. I actually played with Joe a couple times because I saw he was in there, and you can just like grab each other, and you're one of the 33 immortals. Like we never even got on voice chat. But, like it was helpful because he's played a lot more. So that's actually where I got a feel for I just followed him around and was like, all right, this is what we got to do over here. Oh, that's how you get stuff out of this treasure chest. Oh, this is how you this is the currency you earn by killing these little mini bosses that let me upgrade my health during this run. What it feels like, kind of, dude, is the way Night Rain works. It's like within a run, as you kill enough people, your like purple orb fills up, and you can cash that in on something that gives you more health or more attack or more whatever, and you keep doing that enough to like upgrade yourself throughout those 3 phases before you get to the final boss. Very similar to the idea of Night Rain. And
I'm
then
just
eventually
imagining, like, I'm trying to put it in context for me. I'm just imagining something like Isaac. You're trying to get to mom, and you've just got that tiny
all these people
screen,
running
but
around.
like 15 of you running around, yeah, all controlled by somebody else.
It's not
Sounds
that
like
different,
chaos.
but the map is way big, so you're not
Okay.
like on top of people. Like it's a huge map. Like that's why I compare it more to Night Rain. Like imagine 33 people on Night Rain's map. That won't
Oh,
matter.
yeah. Which there very well could be, right? Aren't you supposed to be able to run in? Well, no, it's only your 3. I'm with you, though. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
You might never even
So
see
then
half of them.
it does shrink, but by that point a lot of people have died, and then when you come together, you're ascending, which is essentially like a time trial, like a challenge where like waves of bosses come, and once you beat 3 waves of them, you ascend, which means you can go fight the boss. So like it brings you together only when it's finally time to fight together, and then whoever survives the ascensions go into the boss fight.
And then you
So it's a cool little
win,
game.
and all you can do is play it again. Start over.
No, you win, and then you've unlocked the next level.
Okay.
And then you earn a key to, like, you start in Inferno. I don't remember what the next one's called, but something hotter. I don't fucking know. It actually looks like the
Blue
number
Blazes.
goes down.
Yeah.
But essentially, until finally, and it's in early access, so who knows what the final build looks like. But ultimately, we'll, I think there will be an ending to the game. But right now, I haven't even beat the first boss. I mean, it's hard to get everybody on the same page. He has like a full health bar, and under that are like 8 pips, so it's 8 health bars. Like, once you take one down, the next one moves. It makes sense for the phases, but like, there's a lot you got to get through, and everybody's got to stay alive. So maybe I've been in a run where they beat the boss, but I haven't survived long enough to see that happen. But as I get upgrades, I'll have that survivability, I think, because I'm playing with people like Joe and others, so I'm sure I've spent 20 hours in the game, and I've spent like 2. So
yeah.
Anyway, cool game. I think for anyone who likes roguelites, likes raid mechanics, cool indie game, and like I said, it's on Game Pass, so it's pretty low hanging fruit. And the people who made it made another good game, so I did want to check that really quick. It was a pretty well polished game. Thunder Lotus developed it, and they made Spiritfarer was their other game. I don't know if you ever saw that game, but like, you're essentially this little creature on a boat helping people like cross into the like afterlife, and it's almost like a management game. They're like building a kitchen and expanding your boat and whatever. So also Sundered and Jotun, which was like a Norse game. So a lot of cool little art style games, and this I think falls into that same category.
Nice.
And that's it. So I think the last category I had for us is what's next. I think we touched on a little bit. I think I'm on Khazan for the near future, so I'm not really looking much past that, but I did want to kind of get thoughts about what might be next for you. I'll open my backlog while you're talking here to see. Oh God.
I am, again, as you pointed out, I need to finish up Ender Magnolia. I want to start lining up the next one that I do for the channel. I don't know what that'll be. Depends on the timing of it. Like you said, Doom, if it works out, that's definitely, I'm all in.
Okay.
If there's something between now and then that's kind of different, I'll look into it for sure. I'm like equal parts trying to figure out what I want to do for the channel and trying to figure out what I do for me that's just playing a thing. And I don't know what that'll be like. So far we've talked about Liza P and Tilu 2. I also don't know that I don't specifically go looking for something like Ender Magnolia to play.
Yeah, of course.
Just to kind of get that itch scratched straight through, but also casually, so I can just bounce upstairs to the living room and play it while everyone's asleep, kind of a thing, and not being planted in like not work mode, but work mode.
Right. Well, I think some of the big ones we have still coming this year. Obviously, there's Night Rain. I think people can certainly expect to see that on the channel. We'll have to see if Brandon will let us record, versions while we're playing or not, or if we do our own thing. Goes to GOTY. There's the new. I mean, I'm not saying these are all games we could play, but just big releases. The Pokemon, Z to A or A to Z, whatever it is.
I'm not doing a day one Switch 2, so I'll probably not be our Nintendo guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows what the game is there, right? I think the Switch is expected to come out in June. My guess is a Mario. That doesn't really feel like us. I'll play it for certain and talk about it on the podcast, but not like a Let's Play. And then obviously Doom Dark Ages. There's a game called Wu Chang Fallen Feathers and Blade Phantom Zero. Those are 2 kind of action or Souls-like games that we've talked about that are coming eventually. I don't know if they're this year or not. So we'll be all over it, especially if anything hits the Souls-like or kind of action RPG arena. I imagine you could expect to see that kind of stuff here. Apparently it's a huge year for games. I was going to check backlog to see if anyone had like top releases this year, but otherwise we'll definitely keep you all abreast of what's coming next on the channel. But right now you can expect to see us playing Ender Magnolia and first Berserker Khazan. some kind of content will be out every single day, as well as this podcast we do every month to kind of recap all the stuff we've played, do reviews, talk to our games, all that kind of stuff. So we hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you did, hit the like button, helps us out a ton. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. We have new episodes every single day, like I said. Hit that notification bell if you want to see those as they come out. Leave comments down below. Let us know what you're playing, what you think of our reviews. Tell me you're mad at me because you're an incel and you don't like Last of Us 2, or you're mad about dumb stuff. We
Make
love
sure you show
interacting with
mad
you guys.
appreciation.
Exactly. We do love interacting with you guys, though. I mean, talking about games and our differing opinions on them and stuff is like the community is why we wanted to do this. So we're looking forward to chatting about that. In the meantime, though, thank you for watching, and we will see you again next time.